Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about cinema battery mounts. So let's dive deep into it. Now, cinema camera power, you have to understand this aspect. It does not matter whether it's a film camera or a digital camera. Both of those puppy consume power like there is no tomorrow. Like that was true in basically early 70s, that was true in 80s, 90s, even now. So basically cameras consumed a lot of power and we needed a way to make them portable, because if you watch very old broadcast and all that, things were built around the camera was not portable. Even the broadcast, I'm like, they were huge and they had like mains power and all that jazz. So we needed a way to quote unquote portabilize it, portable for that time, portable then. So back in the day, battery belts were invented to solve this solution. Now back in that day, they had a limited chemistry availability. Right now we have a lot of chemistry. Back in that day, they barely had nickel cadmium and only had like a reliability wise lead acid battery. So huge battery pouches were made. Now sometimes the cameraman will wear it, sometimes this will be tied to the tripod itself. You can see that these are big puppy, big, heavy, clunky. But this did allow shoulder rigs to come out. This did allow cameras to become something that like, oh, camera can move. Oh, camera can be on dollies. Camera can be on arms. Because this kind of had a big impact. Like we do not notice it, but like you have to think about this. Before this, there was no way of moving a camera easily. After this, it's like, hey, camera could be outdoor. Hey, camera could be here, there. So it had a very profound impact. And as time progressed, we realized we have better cell chemistry, as in like how much voltage, how much amp power we can get out of these puppies. Improved. We went from lead acid to nickel cadmium to metal hydrides to other options like lithium ion and all that jazz. So we had a lot of improvement. This was like a 50s kind of technology. Then we applied some gear. So gold mount was invented in like a Anton Boar company in 70s. Now let this be clear, it's late 70s. That's the best I can narrow it down. I cannot figure out like exact launch date. Maybe I'll look through patents, may find it, but it would have taken time after the patent to actually reach market. So 70s is the time when this puppy came to be. Now what was the core focus when this company designed it? What was the core focus? Core focus was ENG broadcast camera. ENG is electronic news gathering, meaning whenever you see reporters talking somewhere in a mic, they have a ENG camera. Those cameras are built a bit differently compared to cinema camera. However, they have almost similar requirement. They are big, beefy, energy consuming puppies. So it was made. Now, because it was a good standard for that time, it became the quote unquote gold standard. So yeah, it's ironic, but it is successful, and it's a 12-volt system, and it has 3 brass pins. That's why like people generally refer it to it as gold. These 3 pins. Now be mindful, those are not electrical pins, those are mounting pins. They have electrical pins here, like the mounts will go into this 3 hole, lock it in, and this will be the electrical contact. This is generally the only weak link that people can find out. Because of the 3 points of contact and spread out so far apart, it has very good rigidity, where it's like it's locked and loaded. It's like very high robustness, very high reliability. It's been working from the 70s and we still use it. That's more than enough proof that this puppy works. However, like the only fault that people have found is that this pin is the weak link. If you like, mangle it or do anything, oops, you can break them. Other than that, this thing is robust, solid, long lasting, reliable, time tested, and everything is very awesome with that. It's very popular still in USA, and be mindful, many camera companies almost exclusively you will find them with basically this gold mount. And generally people say it's like, V mount is good, gold mount is better. As simple as that. But it's expensive. You have to understand that. Now, manufacturers have to pay license, meaning you do not only have to buy a battery from this brand, there are other brands also. But the mounting structure and basically patent design lock of it is there. So you have to actually pay them unless you are a cheap Chinese clone, which again, when you are talking about cameras that these puppy go into, it generally is not wise to risk the $1 million camera for your, very small battery savings. So it is expensive, but very popular in US market, and it's like, there is a reason for its belovedness, so to say, and it's very robust, especially if you have to move around a lot. This puppy is time tested in that regard. So this is the gold mount. People like it. 12-volt system. Everything is awesome about this, other than the electrical contacts. Then we come to the most popular one, V mount. Now V mount is launched by Sony in 1993. It started to hit market in 2000, like by other manufacturers and also. So it was very popular in Asia and European market. So if you are in India, China and the European Union, most likely you're gonna encounter V mount batteries. Now V mount is also 12 volt system, and it has supposed to have metal V grooves on both sides. Basically this receiving puppy and this mate puppy, both of them supposed to be metal. Although unless you are buying hyper cheap, they still would be metal. Now this notch does allow very easy fuchung, but does come with a consequence, because the locking is here and electrical contacts are so far apart. It does not have the same level of vabam. The rigidity of the contacts is physically not there. It's like you only have this much contact area versus 1, 2, 3 of gold mount. So it does have that penalty. It's not as like robust. Now many people were like, if we had a system that was working from 70s, why the heck Sony made this new one? Well, you have to understand this. Sony did not like the idea of paying to other people for some patents, because be mindful, Sony is very successful not only because they make things, but because they patent things out. So they were like, hey, what if we made our own stuff? Then the question becomes, why would people use your stuff? Because Sony at this point in time, as in like in 90s, Sony is becoming a big name, especially in broadcast industry and news gathering industry. And their cinema camera is also picking up. And right now we do not even have to discuss their success in sensor technology. They're on a whole different level. We don't talk about it. It's like Sony in terms of sensor technology is the daddy. So flat out, they had enough of a market confidence. They were like, you know what, if we launch something, there is a good chance it will pick up. And it did pick up. So it is a very big, successful system. But instead of Sony paying to other company, they're getting paid. So very smart, successful thing. Now, be mindful, not every users have this, but docking is the weak link, and many people have complained with that. It's like this locking system, because again the latching mechanism itself is very low contact area and the pin does wear out. So many times people have like issues where like if you are in a gimbal, it pops off, and if you tapped it in your shoulder, like it could latch off, because the design was not as robust. Like from a physics point of view, it's not as robust as a T-mount. T-mount has like 3 far apart point. That was by design to make sure like the physics did not change. Like Sony almost made a smaller battery version that they scaled it up. It's like this feels like it was designed for handycam, and they're just like, oh, okay, let's make it bigger. So it does have some issues. Now be mindful, if you have a branded battery system and a branded slot and all that, 99% of the time you will not have to worry about it. But you could be one of those people who understand why people hate this, depending on your luck. Now here's the very important question: which one should you buy? Well, whichever is in your local ecosystem. Where do you work? Do you work in Mumbai? And if everybody is using V mount, it's wise to invest in a V mount system. Of course, do make sure you buy the quality one, not the one that has plastic mating parts. But you get the point. Like you should invest based on your local ecosystem. If you are in a, let's say, RE ecosystem, and everybody even in India is only using T-taps, basically gold mount battery, just use that. So be mindful, be aware of your local ecological. Even if you are in a place where it's like, hey, I'm the only one person, I'm like, it's a one-man crew, you still have to understand that you may require it to be serviced, you may require to buy new parts. What is locally sold in your camera shops? What can you just go and buy? So V mount is very successful in many places, and many times people have this love-hate relationship with this. It's very successful, very cost-effective, but it's like it could be better. Let's just put it that way. And again, be mindful, the joint is here, the electrical contacts is here. Not a very good mount, like from a physics point of view. Then we come to the brand new mount, that is B mount. Now B mount is an open source standard. Let that be very clear. The company that made it fully open source, meaning you do not have to pay someone in order to make it. If you have the manufacturing facility, you can make it. The end. There is no payment, there is no licensing. The end. And this was launched in 2019, very new one. Now you're like, wait a minute. We had 70s solution, we had 90s solution, and this is like very 20s solution. Why the heck do we need this? Well, reality is both of them were designed for 12 volt ecosystem. Now we are reaching a point where camera is consuming boatload of power, and all your accessories like your monitors and all that, those are becoming HDR monitor with like almost 1000 nits of like a large brightness. They are very brutally energy hungry, so to say. So newer voltage standard had to be used. So B mount supports 24 volt. Now because they have the foresight that so many cameras, so many ecosystem is built for 12 volt, what if 24 volt is not suitable for you? Well, they have an ID pin. Now this ID pin is designed specifically to make sure that you do not fry the system, because be mindful, there are some hot rod options available where you can have either basically gold mounts or V mounts which do support higher voltage, but those are hot rods, meaning they are not officially supported. Here it's officially supported and with a proper handshake, meaning you should not be able to fry a camera that is 12 volt system even if you put a basically 24 volt battery pack, because it will detect the ID and it will either trigger a over warning or it will just simply not work. So this is why that safety pin was very important. It has that ID system. And what about the communication between the battery management system and the camera? Again, that's very open also. You can see it's a data and clock line, exactly like how people use in basically this sort of Arduino and all that. So it's everything about this is open, and they learned from basically the weakness of V mounts. You can see it's a huge contact area. It's almost basically turbocharged gold mount, so it has a huge contact area. And again, the weakness of gold mount was that electrical contacts were exposed. This time they have been reinforced to make sure that breaking it is not an option. So it's a new way of locking system with higher voltage support with fallback. And be mindful, with modern systems both voltage can be had in the same battery bank. In some battery bank it's designed so well that it's like, hey, you can only get up to 10 amps at 24 volt, but if you scale it down to let's say 12 volt, you can get 20 amps out of it, because again it's just seriesing and paralleling the battery banks. It can be done, even defaulted drill batteries can do that. So it's not a new technology, it's just like clever use. So that's what this new battery technology brings to the market. And because RE introduced this puppy, and again they needed for RE's current gen cameras, they realized very early on they were consuming upwards of 100 watts of power per hour, even more than that, because again they have a Peltier goddamn module. Basically they are running air condition for their system. So they realized very early on 12 volts the amp requirement would become too brutal. So they're like, yeah, it would be better to have a 24 volt power rail. Heck, we are doing the same thing in cars. Cars have power rail that is 12 volt and internal combustion engine, and we are upgrading all of that to 48 volt. Here it's like 24 volt. And I'm pretty sure, again, the way this is designed, there is a very good chance it may also go to 48 volt, which is USB-C's power delivery upper limit, 230 watts of power. So again, it does have ID pin, so an open standard, so it could have a communication system attached to it. So RE and Bebop, the company that made this system, are bringing it to market. And because it is open source and because of the RE's brand oomph, because you have to know the sole reason Sony was successful, if any other brand would have tried that, they would have failed simply because they did not have Sony's oomph. Here RE's oomph is allowing that to actually come into market surprisingly quickly, meaning in 2019 they announced it, late 2019, nobody was talking about it. Right now you can buy, like as in 2024, beginning of 2024, you can go to places and just buy B-mount batteries, because of the two reasons. Because again, you do not have to pay someone else and the core technology is the same. It's just a bunch of lithium ion cells, the end. So it's coming into market. You can buy from multiple quality brands as of now. So B-mount, basically they use the engineering saying where it's like, you build it first or you build it better. This is better. They had the benefit of like V-mount hindsight, and they had the benefit of gold mount hindsight, and they did realize the fact that building something that has patent lock is a bad idea. They're like, let's go YOLO, and it is showing results. So could this become the next standard? There is good chance for that, especially because of the fact that now we are going for LED lights, and they are also going to the battery bank options. And because RE makes boatload of them, there is a good probability that in upcoming 10 to 15 years, we may just slowly switch to B-mount. And because of the open standard, I do expect it to not be limited as like, hey, we can't actually upgrade the battery voltage. They're like, hey, 48 volt. I do not think we can go higher than 48 volt, because that goes into high voltage territory, meaning now you have to have live insulation testing. That's expensive. So heck, even your electric car has 2 voltage system, 12 volt system that is for contactor, and 400 volt system. So be mindful, below 48 volt is classified as safe in almost all places. So that's why USB can go up to 48. So, and this can do 48. Again, physics wise, I do not think they have designed it that way, but it can be done. And because of the handshake protocol, it should be doable. So this is the B-mount technology that is gaining traction at surprisingly high speed, given the fact that there is only one brand who made native camera for this, and all other brands, here's our back mount. You can just put the back mount on our Blackmagic camera or this camera or that camera and go YOLO on it. That's today. So B mount has some serious potential. I will not just call like one, but like it has some serious potential. So this was my presentation on basically cinema camera battery mount system. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.